We are going to take you within and along the walls of the ancient city of Dubrovnik in this Day 7 video in Croatia. Now, the past couple of days have been full of rain, but now it is absolutely gorgeous, and here is the view from our room at the Hotel Bellevue. We are so fortunate to be here with Capita, who took us on this guided tour of the walls and city of Dubrovnik. It is fascinating to see all of the ancient structures that have been around for centuries while also mixing in several more modern conveniences. Our guide was Tijan, and he is absolutely remarkable in sharing the history and stories of this great city. Now, the city of Dubrovnik and the surrounding areas are the sites of a lot of the filming locations for the HBO series Game of Thrones, and so we're going to show you some of those places as we go along here. The first set would be where the preacher is giving his thoughts here on these steps, and where Tijan is sharing his own thoughts about the history of the city. As we walk into the main city and walls of Dubrovnik, it was clear that there was some sort of an event happening, as there was a crowd and we heard all kinds of cheers. Now, I thought it was because we were arriving, but it turns out there was a wedding going on, which was cool to see. So many different kinds of unique things are happening here within the walls, and some interesting structures, including this fountain that people actually drink from. Tijan led us through the narrow streets full of different shops and restaurants with lots of yummy smells and different foods. People do actually still live here, but the Airbnb market here is kind of crazy, offering tourists a chance to stay within the walls. Now we are arriving at the steps of the infamous Walk of Shame. The actual scene gets a bit graphic for this channel, so we won't go too far. It's at this point that we climb up to the top of the walls, and we will show you along the way where we went along the outside of the city. But again, we're going to be walking on top of the walls here, which provides some incredible views. Here's a map of where the top of the wall tour starts. And as we get moving, there are some really pretty views of the port of Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik was the site of a heavy bombing campaign by the Yugoslav People's Army back in October of '91 and May of '92. That army would lob bombs and rocket-propelled grenades from the top of that mountain into the middle of the city, causing, as you can imagine, all kinds of destruction, fires, and fear for the citizens of Dubrovnik. As we move around the walls, you get different views of the port. We did pick up a little ice cream cone to eat along our walking tour, which was nice and refreshing. If you pay attention to the various shots of this video, you will see a lot of bell towers. There are a ton of churches or monasteries within the walls of Dubrovnik, and they are everywhere. I do want to draw your attention to the different colors of roof tiles. You will see the lighter, more vibrant reddish-brown roofs, which are new roofs that replaced the destruction of the bombings of the early 90s. You can also sometimes see buildings with older, more washed-out, darker roof tiles that were not destroyed during the bombings in '91 and '92. As we make our way around this northern wall, there's this intimidating moat that is pretty intense that helped protect the citizens within these ancient walls. Another good look at the inside of the city, and here's a really good view of all of those roofs. Notice how many of them are new roofs and how devastating these bombings were in the early 90s. Here is one of my all-time favorite pictures of Caitlin as the sun is going down, and she is absolutely gorgeous. Now we approach this tower on the northernmost part of the walls, and this is going to be a famous site of one of the Game of Thrones scenes at the House of the Undying. They let us walk up into the very top of this tower, and this is where we got some really nice pictures of different views. One of the most famous outdoor basketball courts in the world is located within the walls of Dubrovnik that you can see here. And of course, we needed a selfie. Next, we will make our way along the more western side of the walls, and this grassy area here is where they had the training ground for some of the knights in the Game of Thrones. As we go along this west side, you can look across the bay here, and there is a fortress over there. That's actually going to be the location of the Red Keep in the Game of Thrones and several other scenes from this series. We didn't go over there on this day, but we did on the next day, so we will have a video all about our tour of that structure. Here's another view of the Lovrienec fortress, and I don't think I'm pronouncing that entirely right. Here on this southwest side of the walls at sunset is breathtaking. I don't understand how ancient people could have built a structure like this out of the rock up against these sheer cliffs going into somewhat treacherous waters. It is absolutely beautiful. Here's a glimpse at some of the more ruined parts of the interior city that just haven't been rebuilt as much as the other places. And again, you can see some differences in the roofs. And some of my favorite pictures that I have ever taken in my entire life come along this stretch. There's actually a bar on the cliffs of these walls. There are all kinds of these little turrets scattered along the outside of the walls, and our little camera gives us a pretty cool view on the outside of these. Here is another view out of another turret. And that concluded our tour of the walls of Dubrovnik. We came down and had a lovely meal with our group. This was an absolutely incredible experience. If you ever get the chance to go to Dubrovnik, I highly recommend checking out the interior of the city as well as the walking tour up along the walls. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe for more travel videos.